Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
By the way.
Great, man.
Yeah, this is gonna help. So, gentlemen, you're gonna be getting your hands dirty, down on your knees a little bit. What I wanna show you here is this beautiful spring green right here. This is called trout lily, and it is perfectly in season. So, let's just start with a taste.
That's really sweet. I love the color.
I know one thing. I'm gonna need a lot of it to get full.
That's why you're here. The beauty of having you guys along with me this time, it's not a solo gathering for me. What I can do instead is say, okay, I've got some friends to help me out here. This is actually not the main part of this wonderful little trout lily that we're going after. Let me show you. So I'm just gonna go like this, all right? Come in, see if I got this guy.
What are you going for the root, are you?
I'm going for the root. We call them a corm, which is basically a botanical word for potato.
No kidding.
Yeah, potato.
So they're rich in starch like potatoes are?
They are, and tasty. There's the beauty I want right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yes, okay, see that beauty?
Yeah, that's small.
That is trout lily. So you see the size of these little corms. You saw how delicate it was. Like if I were to try to pull this guy out by the root, it's just going to pop off, right? It's just gonna break. Now, here's what we wanna do here. We're gonna want all of it, the stem, the leaf, and the bulb. You wanna come in not beside it, but in behind it, and kind of bring it up. And I just think sometimes it's best to just go in with your fingers. You can be much more gentle. And look at that, there's another beauty right there. So we can see there's a sea of this trout lily. And this whole acreage, everywhere, as far as I can walk you today, we would be walking on a carpet of these trout lily. It's a wonderful bounty. But instead of us all, say, digging right here, what I want to do is responsible harvesting. So we're going to spread you guys out by about, 20, 30 feet between us.
Sure.
And we're going to start gathering that way. So we are off to the wild harvest. Remember, we're gathering wild edible plants. Just be kind to your body, man. If you need to gather these like this, then do so.
I will after a minute, because I'm 63.
There you go. You better start stretching now. Often abundant and native to the eastern half of North America, mostly in its woodlands, trout lily is thusly named as it's thought that the mottled leaves resemble the skin of brook trout. Oh, I love these little guys here for plant identification. They're just a wonderful example of a wildflower with basal leaves only. The lily family, dogtooth violet or trout lily. It's just a beautiful, beautiful and succulent little spring wild edible. So let's take a look at it and figure out some of the identifying markings and features here. Well, for starters, I'm lucky because this time around, there's actually a flower top that I can take a look at for positive identification as well. But let's go to the leaves first. These are absolutely what you would call basal leaves. You can see they come from the base of the plant. The purple mottled pattern on the top, smooth, greenish, silvery green on the bottom. No teeth to these leaves, they are entire. And this little flower is what you would call nodding. It's nodding over. Gorgeous little yellow or sometimes yellowish white. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals. So you look at counting the petals. It's good to count several examples of the plant when you're counting petals to make sure that there's a uniformity to the plant that you're going after. Maybe there's a look-alike plant really close to it and it always has 8 petals and maybe that one's toxic. So you really need to try to get as much of the evidence of identifying factors of these wild plants before you can say, yes, this is trout lily and I can eat it. This is wonderful. Do you remember what the cattail looked like when we were here last time?
Yeah, it was tall. You couldn't even see through here.
Super tall. It was beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here's what we want right here.
Hard to believe it's the same plant.
I know. Now, the trick to picking these, okay? So we don't want to haul up the whole rhizome. We don't want that. All we want is this year's growth. Let's try this guy here. I'm gonna go right down. So I'm sliding my fingers all the way down pretty low.
Okay.
Right? So I think I get to the bottom of it roughly. And then just sort of tug, 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 tug. There we go. Beautiful.
Have a bite of that. Don't mind the grit.
Okay.
Yeah? Isn't that beautiful?
It's sweet, it's tender,
Creamy?
delicious. It's almost like this tough outer layer that I've peeled back in the past hasn't really had a chance to develop yet.
Isn't that great? So that's what we want, but I don't want you to bring up the whole rhizome. I just want this section. That rhizome will keep growing. It'll shoot up new plants as it continues to live, but that's what we're looking for. Gather what you can, and I will do the same.
See some over here.
Right.
That's a good one.
It's kind of fun. Woo! It's coming out wonderfully. Oh, darn it. See, now that's what I don't want to do. I don't want the rhizome. I just want this top part, but I didn't get the right grip on it, pulled the whole rhizome up. Now, that's not a big tragedy, because what I'll do is I will take my stem and I'll plant the rhizome back in. It will survive. Right back down in there. Put the mud over it, muck. It's good to go. Found wherever it's wet, cattail is distributed all across the northern hemisphere of the planet. And when you find it, you usually find a lot of it, making it a choice edible to gather and one of my favorites. This North American fir tree is spread from Newfoundland to Alberta, Minnesota to Maine, the Appalachian Mountains to West Virginia. A little bit plant identification when it comes to the balsam fir tree. It's one thing to know about the needles in terms of their overall formation, like in the balsam fir case, you get this flattish sort of growing pattern as opposed to all the way around like spruce. But also you want to pay attention to the top side of the needle versus the bottom side of the needle. What's it look like? And take a look at the balsam needles underneath and you see two white lines, not really strong white, sort of just a faint white, but there are two white lines. And so you want to take all of this into consideration when you're positively identifying a species of plant or tree, shrub, or vine. Paul wanted me to come back and get just a couple more of the tender young cattail shoots for him. Something that is important here to note is the location of where I'm gathering these young shoots. You see, with some plants, I have to worry about poisons such as spray, herbicides, pesticides, that kind of thing. But with cattail, I have to worry about what they are taking from the ground. Industry actually uses cattail to suck up metals and poisons out of the ground as part of a filtering system, which, by the way, means that gathering cattail by the roadside is suspect. So I want to look around, make sure that the water coming in is clean, to take note of the ecosystem where I am and make sure this is a nice pristine area. It's a very abundant, full stand of cattail. It's a good place to gather. That's stunning.
What a perfect day.
And here's what I'm looking for right here, actually. This is Juniperus communis, the most widespread conifer in the entire planet. These berries that we're looking at here, this is the female plant. Only the female of the species produces the berries. By the way, rich in vitamin C, amongst many other things.
Okay.
Here's the catch to this, though. These aren't berries. These are cones. This is a conifer. These are little cones that are so tight in with their scales that they look like berries to us. These are not berries at all. These are juniper cones.
I had no idea.
You see the texture of that berry?
Yeah.
That's a nice sort of ripe purple one, right? Takes almost 2 years for these berries to ripen. You get to a stage where they're still green, but they are mature. Then they go from that green mature stage to being purple and black. Culinarily, this is the stage that most people use them, is when they've turned this purpley blue, purpley black color. This particular plant, this juniper, is used widely in a medicinal way throughout cultures all across the planet. But it goes way back to the Greeks. The Greeks used to feed the berries to their Olympians to promote stamina. And then in 1650, along comes this dude who's looking for a tonic treatment for kidney issues. And he takes the juniper berries, he makes a tonic, and it proves to be really, really popular because basically he invented gin. Gin is from the mature green berries, but we're gonna mess with both berries here today because we have lots of them, and you don't need much.
Yeah. The smell on that one's not that strong. It's a green one that I picked.
Oh, I didn't expect that much sweetness. That was a good one. Really sweet. So you see, there's a lot of room to play with the berry and the stage that it's in terms of whether it's used for gin or culinarily. I think we're gonna have fun with this because here's what I'm gonna do. I actually don't wanna look for anything else. So I would love you to harvest both the green and the purpley blue ones. Let's just start doing some gathering. Junipers are such widespread conifers that they even grow at altitudes of over 4,900 meters, making for one of the highest tree lines on Earth.
There's so many of these.
To positively identify Juniperus communis, remember that the needles are joined at the base, and also that with the seedlings, the needles are sharp and prickly. And as must be done with all berry gathering, or should I say cone gathering, you have to eat some along the way. Junipers are gymnosperms, which means they have seeds, but no flowers, no fruits, and no berries. Gin, by the way, is a shortening of the Dutch word for juniper. All right, time for a little plant identification. Juniperus communis. There are probably 40, 45 plus varieties of this species, and it's the most widespread conifer on the planet. Now let's take a look at some of the identifying features of this. The needles are dark green on the top and tend to be whitish underneath. They also are opposite, so if I pull this apart here, you see how those needles are opposite each other. They go in a whorled formation all the way around the twig. See these green berries? So this is actually a cone, a conifer cone. Just like a pine cone, spruce cone, hemlock cones, juniper cones. There's these bluish ones that are quite tasty. That's pretty nice. Now there is a toxic oil. Every juniper shrub has it called tujon and can cause serious problems with the kidneys and the digestive tract, stomach. There are varieties of this species, just a few, that actually have the oil in high concentrations. And so that makes it a juniper berry you want to stay away from. You don't want to touch it. However, luckily and fortunately, this particular version of the species, Juniperus communis, has the oil in small concentrations. It's a wonderful, wonderful shrub. A lot more than just an ornamental in your front yard in the city. Then again, every single plant on your front yard in the city has a lot more to it than just an ornamental quality. Check it out.